Shalom uvracha, kadma ve'azla revi'i. The great scholar, the Vilna Gaon, points out that the names of the cantillations for the first three words of our Torah reading paint the words accurately. Kadma ve'azla revi'i means the fourth got up and went. The Hebrew words we read are, and Judah came forward to him. Judah was the fourth son of Jacob, so indeed the fourth got up and went. The fourth son got up to defend and intercede on behalf of Benjamin, the youngest brother, and Rachel's remaining son. Lest we think that this is just a nice detail, I think the Vilna Gaon is telling us something profound and informative about us, the Jewish people. Exactly why are we called Jews? The historical reason is because we were the descendants of the tribe of Judah, which was the last remnant of the kingdom of Israel. But there has to be a more spiritual reason. And I think that the Vilna Gaon is stressing this cantillation-inspired description because it teaches us why we are called Jews and what we're supposed to do. We must always rise up and go. But what about that third note, Revi'i, or fourth? Why stress that Judah is the fourth son? Is there a significance to that number? Absolutely. I believe that it means that Judah is also a firstborn. But wait, Jacob had two firstborns, technically. Reuben was born first to Leah, and Joseph was born first to Rachel. Judah wasn't first at anything, so how can I say he was a firstborn? I shall explain. After the brothers had visited Egypt and brought back food for the first time, they told their father Jacob that they were not allowed to return there without their younger brother Benjamin should they need more food. And not only that, their brother Shimon was being held as a hostage until they brought Benjamin. Now Jacob, who had already lost Joseph, adamantly refused to allow Benjamin to go. So two of the sons attempted to persuade Jacob to relent. The first was Reuben, the actual firstborn, who said to Jacob, "You can kill my two sons if I do not bring Benjamin back to you." What a shocking offer. Did Reuben actually think that Jacob would kill his own grandchildren if Benjamin didn't return? Of course Jacob didn't accept this offer. Indeed, what was Reuben thinking? Perhaps he was exaggerating, saying in effect, just like I would never accept any harm coming to my sweet two sons, I will not allow any harm to come to your sweet son Benjamin. Perhaps. But still he did make that offer. And then, as the supplies in Canaan went scarce, they needed to go back to get more food. Judah made a different offer. He said, quote, "I will be his guarantor. You can demand him from my hand, and if I don't bring him back, I will have sinned to you for all the days of my life." Now this offer includes absolutely nothing concrete. And yet this gets Jacob to agree. If I had to rate the two offers in levels of intensity, it would seem that Reuben's wins hands down. Why did Jacob reject Reuben and accept Yehudah? Maybe it has to do with the placement of the sons. Looking at the names, one sees a big difference between Judah's name and the names of his three older brothers. Leah named them in ways that express her pain at the fact that she is not feeling loved by her husband Yaakov. Reuben, because God has seen my suffering. Shimon, because God has heard that I am hated. Levi, so that maybe now my husband will join me. All of these names express Leah's emotional pain and hurt. But Judah is different. And this time, says Leah, I will give thanks to God. In other words, now the marriage is fixed, and Judah is the firstborn in this newly fixed relationship. Additionally, our sages teach us that Leah saw prophetically that Jacob would have 12 sons. She also saw that those 12 sons would come from 4 wives, herself, her sister, and the 2 maidservants. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So each wife was entitled to 3 sons. But now that she had a 4th, Judah, she became preeminent among the wives, and this son was like her firstborn as the preeminent wife. Let's see how this affects their characters. Now Reuben was admirable. At the moment when Joseph came to the brothers at the beginning of the story, when they plotted against him, Reuben wanted to save him and bring him back to his father. He put Joseph in a pit, intending to do just that, but he failed. And his plot was thwarted by who? His brother Judah. For it was Judah's idea to sell Joseph to the Ishmaelite merchants and eventually to Egypt. So now Reuben wants to get it right. He failed to bring Joseph back, so he must not fail to bring Benjamin back. Hence his extremely intense offer. But what was his mindset? Avoidance of pain and culpability. He felt guilt for what had happened to Joseph and did not want to have that guilt repeated with Benjamin. He is the person who works hard to avoid trouble. He will do the job for the salary and never take any risks. So in his world, therefore, putting up the most extreme and unthinkable consequences will certainly motivate him to kill in order to protect Benjamin. This may come from his order of birth. His personality may have come from the fact that he was seen as a solution to the negative circumstances of his mother's marriage at that point. Avoid the pain. Now Jacob understood this, and he knew that this is not the recipe for success. If you're hiring an employee, you want someone who is committed to the mission rather than afraid of screwing up. No matter how severe the consequences, they will never do as good a job as the one who believes in the project. And that person is Judah. He is the character trait of kadma ve'azla. Get up and go. Get up and do it. Even in the sale of Joseph, we see this character trait. When he says, what benefit is there in killing him? Let's sell him. Let's at least get something profitable, at least money for shoes, out of eliminating this pain in the neck brother. So now it is going to be Judah who will clean up the mess that he made, as we see him get up and go to talk to Joseph and take responsibility for Benjamin. And this will not be simple, because Joseph has brilliantly set it all up so that Benjamin will be no more liked than he was in his youth. You will notice that Judah, in his defense of Benjamin, never claims that Benjamin didn't steal the cup, the golden cup that was the pretense for dragging them back there. Some commentaries will claim that the brothers really believed that Benjamin did steal it, and they were furious with him. Here they had successfully freed Shimon. They were returning triumphantly to Canaan with the new food. Everything was going well, and Benjamin had to go and mess all of that up. Now, when you look at the stories, you should look for parallels to other stories in the Torah, and you can discover some surprising things. There is another story where someone steals something and brings great danger upon the future nation of Israel. It happens to be Benjamin's mother, Rachel, who stole Laban's idols as they left. Laban pursues them with great anger and violent intentions. What made that danger? Psychologists will tell you that when someone has a list of grievances, the last one is usually the real one. The first ones are just to sound good, but the last one is the thing that really is getting them upset. So when Laban confronts Jacob, he gives him a list of complaints about Jacob running away and not letting him kiss his children and so forth, and then he concludes with the furious but most truthful accusation, "Why did you steal my gods?" So Rachel endangered the whole family. They might have even been upset with her too, had they known. Perhaps this is why Jacob's defense to Laban, when he says that the one who stole those idols will die if we find them, actually came true with Rachel's premature death. But that's another discussion. So now, Joseph has weaponized the envy of Benjamin with resentment at him, getting them into this new and unnecessary predicament. They could have easily gotten rid of Benjamin too. Joseph gave them the perfect opportunity. But now, Judah gets up and goes, and despite everything, will save the day, offering himself to be taken instead of Benjamin. Where did he learn this? So his personality may have come from being the fourth son, the firstborn of the new marriage, or the newly restored marriage, and the newly preeminent wife, Leah. He no longer had a chip on his shoulder, so he could ask life what needs to be done in this world, get up and go and do it. But Judah also has a flaw, and there is a moment, I believe, when he is transformed into the Judah who will be the forebear of King David and the Messianic dynasty. Let's go back a couple of weeks of Torah readings to analyze that moment, when Judah learned the secret of kadma ve'azla, get up and go. His two sons that had been married to Tamar in sequence had died. She was still childless, so the law of levirate marriage meant that she would have to marry Judah's remaining son, Shelah. But here, Judah was afraid of consequences, and he was afraid that Shelah would also die like Er and Onan did, so he did nothing. Shelah matured, and Tamar saw that she was not being given to him, so she performed a kadma ve'azla. She concealed her identity, dressed as a prostitute, and seduced an unknowing Judah and became pregnant from him in the affair. When her pregnancy showed, Judah sentenced her to death. For as a levirate wife-in-waiting, she was considered legally married to Shelah, even if that hadn't been consummated. And now if she's pregnant, she's committed adultery, a capital offense. And just as she's being brought out to be burnt, she sends a secret message to Judah, proving that she is pregnant with his child. So now he has a choice: protect his reputation and say or do nothing, or confess his sin in public. He chooses the latter, and says it in a curious way. He says, Tzadakah mimeni, she is more right than I am. What does that mean, more right? We don't see that they had an argument that she won, so just what was she more right about? I think that Judah was saying that she was more right about applying kadma ve'azla. The get up and do it approach means that you cannot sit on your hands when you know that something must be done. Judah knew that Tamar had to have a child in the family. When she'd been married to Er, his eldest, she had been sanctified. Kiddushin means to be sanctified. That's what marriage is. So Tamar was now sanctified to have children for the family. And she deserved to have that child. And Judah knew that. But he did not get up and do it. Afraid of consequences, he sat on his hands. But not Tamar. She took action. She made sure that a new child would be born to the family of Judah, and thus she did what Judah himself should have done. She was more right, meaning she was ready to take the kadma ve'azla action when he wasn't. That is the role of the firstborn, to lead, to make sure that what has to be done gets done. The great Rabbi Yosef Dov Soloveitchik explained the difference between kapara, atonement, and tahara, purity. The former, atonement, implies the removal of the need for punishment. The sinner has paid the price, therefore he is no longer liable for the consequences. But the spiritual stain of the sin remains in his soul. For that there is a higher process, tahara, or purification. That is an internal change where the person is spiritually reborn. Reuben functioned from a place of atonement, of kapara. He needed to avoid guilt. And that's good on a basic level, but that's not the attribute of leadership. This is not what the Jewish people must be. Rather, we must pursue purification and tahara. We must get up and go and do and fight and fix. We must put our money where our mouth is and keep fighting until this world becomes pure and holy, as it absolutely can be. That's what Judah taught us, and that's what it must mean to be a Jew, to follow in his spiritual footsteps.